Okay, so in last class, we have studied about bonds in solid. Okay, so the bond exists in solid because when the bond is formed, there is a reduction of energy. We have studied that one. So we have studied classification of bonds as well. So bonds are two types. These are primary bond and secondary bond. And from the study of bond, you get information about melting temperature, modulus of elasticity, interatomic distances, and thermal expansion coefficient, hardness, and strength. Okay, so we have already studied about ionic bond and also the covalent bond, and then we have calculated cohesive energy for ionic crystal. Okay, cohesive energy got two parts. One is called lattice energy. So this term is basically lattice energy because when I calculate this expression, we have started from ions, and then there is an ion exchange energy. When you add this V with ion exchange energy, that is called cohesive energy. So that is cohesive energy per molecule. Normally, cohesive energy is expressed per atom, so we divide this expression by half. So that's the cohesive energy. That's the expression, and the numerical value we have calculated that one. So this joule, and then joule is converted to electron volt, and then you add this 1.53 electron volt. So that is per molecule. That is per molecule, and that is per atom. Similarly, you will be able to solve this problem for potassium chloride. As you know, the sodium chloride, potassium chloride, sodium iodide, potassium bromide, all have got the sodium chloride like crystal structure. So the lattice energy term will be different. Only the ion exchange energy will be, lattice energy will be same, and ion exchange energy will be different. Okay, and then we solve another problem of covalent bond. So covalent bonding energy is this per mole. Per mole means about this number of atom, about this number of bonds. So you can calculate per bond is divided by this number. That must be equal to h nu, and that must be equal to AC by lambda. So you can calculate lambda, and you will see the lambda will be in the ultraviolet region. So that means the materials which have got carbon-carbon bond should not be exposed in the ultraviolet light. If you expose it in the ultraviolet lights, then the bond will deteriorate. Some of the bond will be breaking, and then bond will be deteriorate over there. So today we are going to study metallic bond. So metallic bond basically exists in metals. So we know that sodium metal, if you look at the electronic configuration of sodium metal, you'll see you will have nucleus over here, and then you have two electrons in the first orbit. So there are two electrons in the first orbit, and then another 8 electron in the second orbit. And what is the atomic number? Atomic number of sodium is 11. Okay, so eight electrons are there. So there will be one electron in the third orbit. So now, if this electron gets little energy, we have studied about that one, the ionization energy, then this electron will become free. Okay, so if you have one piece of sodium metal like 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter, that means you have 1 cubic centimeter of sodium chloride crystal that contains about 10 to the power 22 number of per centimeter, 22 number of sodium atoms. So every atom has got one valence electron or almost free electron. So 1 cubic centimeter has got 10 to the power 22 number of electrons. So when these 22 number of electrons are detached from the atom, so they will make the electron, so-called electron sea or electron cloud. So this electron cloud is negatively charged, and when they are detached, they actually left behind positively charged ion core. And as you know, there is an electrostatic interaction between positively charged ion core and negatively charged electron C. So there will be a Coulomb attraction between them. Due to this Coulomb attraction, there will be a bond between them, and this bond is called metallic bond. And metallic bond is a non-directional bond. So we have studied about the directional bond. So we have mentioned that the covalent bond is directional bond, because the covalent bond occurs when there is an overlapping. So it occurs towards the direction of the overlapping directions. In this case, bonds are formed by the electric field. So the bonds are same in all directions. So that is called non-directional bond. So that's all about the metallic bond. Okay, so we have finished the primary bond, because we have already studied ionic bond, covalent bond, and this is the third bond in the primary bond class. Now we are going to study the secondary bond. So if you notice carefully, in the primary bond, actually primary bonds are between atoms. Okay, the bonds between atoms are the primary bonds. And in the primary bonds, we have seen that there is an electron transfer or sharing occurs, and the bond energy is quite strong. And another important thing is the force behind the formation of the bond is actually Coulomb force, which is proportional to the 1/r square. Now, in the next topics, we are going to find out when there is a formation of secondary bond. So again, there will be a force behind this, behind the formation of the bond, and we'll see that force is very weak force, which is called van der Waals force, and which is proportional to very high power of R. Normally, it is R to the power 8 or 9, something like that. Okay, or R to the power 7 is actually proportional to van der Waals force. Is proportional to R to the power 7. Okay. The secondary bond, as I said, secondary bonds are, we have mentioned earlier, secondary bonds are intermolecular bonds, and these bonds are weak bonds, and the bond energy is small in this case, and there is no electron transfer or sharing in this type of bond. So these are secondary bonds. Secondary bonds are mainly 3 types. These are bond due to polar molecules, and then bond due to non-polar molecules, and hydrogen bond. Now, what is polar molecule? Polar molecule is a molecule which has got a permanent dipole moment. Which has got a permanent dipole moment is called polar molecules. Like, for example, hydrogen molecule, not hydrogen, H2O molecule, water molecule, is a polar molecule, because when the water molecules are formed, water molecules are actually constructed with 2 hydrogen atoms in this configuration, and then 1 oxygen atom. When they are forming, so this end become more positive compared to the other end, because hydrogen has got 1 electron and oxygen has got 6 electrons. So the hydrogen end will be more positive compared to the other end. So they form a natural dipole. So that is called polar molecules. So the definition of polar molecule is that has got a permanent dipole moment even in absence of electric field. So these are the polar molecule. For example, water molecule or HCl molecule, and so on. Now, from our basic electrostatic knowledge, we know that when there is a charge, so there will be an electric field surrounding that charge. There will be an electric field. You have studied in your school or college level physics. When there is a charge, there will be a force surrounding that charge. That there is a field. There is a field surrounding that charge. That field is called the electric field. And if you bring a charge, there will be a force on it. Okay, so that's the electric field. So electric field produced by a charge is normally E equal to, you have studied 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by R square. Now, dipole is also a combination of charges. So that means it can produce electric field. You have studied earlier in your college level physics that electric field produced by a dipole along a perpendicular bisector, like this is the dipole and this is the perpendicular bisector. So at any point on the perpendicular bisector, you have calculated that electric field, and you have found that electric field is E equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught P by R cube. You have found up to this term. Now, if you want to calculate electric field at any arbitrary distance over here, so the approximately the term will be E will be 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught P by R cube. Then there will be an additional term minus 3 P dot R to the power. At perpendicular bisector, P is along that direction. P is along that direction. R is along that direction. So angle between P and R is 90 degrees. So along the perpendicular bisector, this term will be 0. So that means you will get 1 by 4 to the P by 2. That means which you have calculated in your college level physics. That means in electrostatics. Okay, so that's the electric field produced by the polar molecules. Now you see, so every materials actually, in every solid, they have got some moisture. So moisture means they have got some water molecules. They will produce. So these are polar molecules. They will produce this electric field, and this electric field will be experienced by the other non-polar molecule that exist in solid. So that means if you place other non-polar molecule in an electric field, what will happen? Like for example, hydrogen atom. So hydrogen atom has got 1 proton and 1 electron. Although it has got positive charge, equal amount of positive charge and negative charge. Okay. So in absence of electric field, this is not a dipole. Why this is not a dipole? Because the center of the positive charge distribution here and center of the negative charge distribution in this atom is at the same point. So that means there is no separation between the distribution of the positive charge and distribution of the negative charge in a neutral atom. So this is, although in a neutral atom you have equal number of positive and negative charge, this is not a dipole. However, if you place this in an electric field, if you place this neutral atom in an electric field, then positive charge will, so this electric field is along that direction. So positive charge will move along that direction. There will be a force on it because of the electric field along that direction. And negative charge distribution will move to the opposite direction of the positive charge. Now the center of the positive and negative charges will be different in presence of electric field. So in presence of electric field, a neutral atom become polarized. Okay, so that is what happened when the polar molecule create an electric field, this electric field, and this electric field is experienced by the non-polar molecule that exist in solid, and then as a result, the non-polar molecule will become polarized, and that polarization actually proportional to the strength of the electric field. And as alpha is called the proportionality constant, which actually depends on the material. Actually, the polarization will be higher if the electric field is higher, and polarization will be less if the electric field is less, or for very small electric field, there will be no polarization at all. So strength of the polarization depends on the electric field. Now, the situation became, so you have a polar molecule, and that polar molecule produce an electric field, and that electric field polarize the non-polar molecule. So ultimately the situation will be a dipole in an electric field. So you have also studied this one. When there is a dipole in an electric field, so there will be a force on this positive charge along that direction, force on the negative charge along that direction, and these two forces will be equal in magnitude, but in opposite directions. They will form a couple, and due to that couple, this dipole will rotate. So it will come, positive charge will come here, negative charge may come there, so it will rotate. Okay, and due to that rotation, there will be a stored energy in that system. There will be a stored energy in that system. And so if we know that the torque tau equal to P cross E. So tau is like angular force. So due to that tau, it will rotate a certain angle theta. So when it rotates theta, there will be some energy. So you can express this one minus P is the dipole moment dot minus P dot E. So there will be a work done. And that work done is minus P prime dot E. Now P prime is equal to alpha E. So it will be basically alpha E dot E dot E. And the expression E is this one. E is a vector quantity. So dot another E. So if you perform this dot product, an angle between P and R, this is the P and R is theta. So P dot R will be PR cos theta. Okay, so if you take it into consideration of this and do this dot product, you will get this expression. So there will be a bracket here basically. And then if you simplify that one, add this thing, it will be minus alpha by 4 pi epsilon naught square 1. So this is 1 plus 3 cos square theta P square by R to the power 6. That's the potential energy. Now another important thing is when you have a two charge Q1 and Q2. So this is Q1 and Q2. What is the force between them? Force between them is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 by R square. That's the force, Coulomb force. Now when there are two charges are separated by some distance, there will be an electric potential as well. So electric potential U, or actually in this case I have expressed it by V, that must be equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 by R. Now if you differentiate this one dV dr, so everything is constant, it will be differentiation of 1 by R. Differentiation of 1 by R is minus 1 by R square. So it will be minus 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 divided by R square. Now this term is basically F. So dV dr equal to minus F. So in this case, we have derived an expression for V. From V, if you want to calculate F, so we have to differentiate this one, dV dr, and then put a minus sign on it. And if you do that, this is constant, these are constant. So only variable is 1 by R to the power 6. And differentiation of 1 by R to the power 6 is minus 6 by R to the power 7. So minus minus will become plus. Finally, we can show that the force behind the formation of the secondary bond, actually there is a small mistake here in the notes. So it will be proportional to R to the power minus 7 or 1 by R to the power 7. That means, which means it drops rapidly with increasing separation. So this type of force, which is proportional to the high power of R, inversely proportional to the high power of R, is called van der Waals force. Like 1/7 is a van der Waals force. So the force behind the formation of secondary bond is weak force, which is called van der Waals force. We have just proved it here. So if I go back, previously we have studied about the bond between the permanent dipole, like when you have a permanent dipole, like water molecule over here, this water molecule can attract this one, or also attract this one. So there could be a long chain. There could be a long chain, okay, long chain, or sometimes triangular shape, rectangular shape, and so on. So they will attract, they will be loosely bound, and they will make the form secondary bond. And this polar molecule induce polarization in the non-polar molecules, and non-polar molecule will also attract each other. So example we have already mentioned is water molecule is this one. And then here there is a chart about the bond energy and melting temperature of different types of solid. Solid having ionic bond like sodium chloride and magnesium chloride. So in this column, bond energy are given in SI unit, kilojoule per mole, and in this case is electron volt per molecule. So sodium chloride is roughly this one. Magnesium, actually this depends on the temperature. And then magnesium oxide is this one. And as you can see that as their bond energy is high, melting temperature is also high. Look at here. For sodium chloride, 3.3 volt, so 3 electron volt, and melting temperature is 801 degrees Celsius. And for magnesium oxide, energy is 5.2 electron volt per atom, and melting temperature is 2800 degrees Celsius. And the materials having covalent bond, like for example, silicon, diamond. Silicon has melting temperature 1410 degrees Celsius. Energy is this one. For diamond, energy is very high. So for that reason, its melting temperature is also very high, and that is the strongest material, one of the strongest material. And then mercury, aluminum, iron, tungsten is actually metal. So they have got metallic bond, and their bond energy is like that in kilojoule per mole. In EV is this. So look, for mercury, it is very weak bond energy is there. That is why its melting temperature is minus 39 degrees Celsius. So at room temperature, they are basically liquid. And aluminium has got melting temperature 660 degrees Celsius. For iron, it is 1538 degrees Celsius. And tungsten has got very high energy, and it is 3410 degrees Celsius. That is why you might have noticed that tungsten wire is used in a light bulb. You see that nowadays we have got LED bulb. Okay, so in LED bulb we do not need any filament, but the bulb having filament is basically made from tungsten because its melting temperature is very high. So that's all about the primary bond. As you can see, the primary bond is very strong one. If you look at the secondary bonds, bond energy is very weak. When the bond energy is very weak, their melting temperature is also very low. Like for example, water. Water has got bond energy, this one, 0.52 electron volt per mole, and their melting temperature is 0 degrees Celsius. That means at 0 degrees Celsius, we got liquid water. Okay, and on the other hand, ammonium is 0.36 eV, and this is minus 78. For chlorine, this is 0.32, and melting melting temperature is, that means that they become liquid at minus 101 degrees Celsius. Okay. So we have already proved that the force behind the formation of the secondary bond is a weak force, which is van der Waals force, and which is proportional to 1 by r to the power 7, or it is proportional to r to the power minus 7. Okay. Now, example of bonding in materials. So different type of material has got different types of bonds. Sometimes some combination bonds may also observe. Like for metals, it is metallic bond, which we have studied this morning, metallic bond. And for ceramic type of material, the bond is covalent bond mainly, or sometimes some ionic bond also may occur for some cases. In polymer, the bond is covalent bond, and there is secondary bond, weak bond. And for semiconductor, mostly the bond is covalent bond. Okay, so this table shows you different types of bonds and their properties in short. If we look at here, you see the ionic bond, the lattice looks like this one. So you have a negative ion, this one, shaded one, and the red one is positive ion. So they stay very close to each other, and their bond occurs due to the electrostatic attraction, that means the Coulomb attraction. We have studied this earlier. And the materials having ionic bond is hard. So when it is become hard, or bond energy is high, melting temperature is also high, and may be suitable in may be soluble. They are actually insoluble in water, but they are soluble in polar liquids such as water or some acid. Okay, an example of ionic crystal we have already studied, which is sodium chloride, and the cohesive energy is this one. So actually cohesive energy depends on the temperature. So in our calculation, I think it was 3.22 electron volt per atom, and this was taken from a book. Okay, so they have considered this one somewhat lower temperature, so cohesive energy will be this one. Okay, and then covalent. So in this case, actually, in case of ionic bond, there is an electron transfer or sharing occurs. In case of covalent bond, this is the lattice type. So look at here. So there is an overlapping. There is an overlapping of orbital along the direction. There is an overlapping of orbital along the direction. So these are actually directional bond. However, in this case, it is non-directional bond. So that occurs by, that's very important term, by shared electrons. So electrons are sharing when there is a orbital overlapping, and that sharing is greatest towards the direction of the overlapping. So that is why we call it directional bond. For example, so it is very hard, and it has got high melting temperature. It has got a very high melting temperature and insoluble in nearly all liquids. So they are basically insoluble. So semiconductor, except diamond. Diamond is insulator. Okay. Other than the materials having covalent bond are semiconducting in nature, and cohesive energy of diamond is this one. And then so these two are actually primary bond, and then another primary bond is metallic bond over here. So this is like you have an electron cloud or electron sea. In the electron sea, positively ion cores are just immersed on it. So again, there will be a attraction between this electronic cloud and the left behind positively charged ion core. So the bond is by through this electron gas. Okay, electron gas. So due to that, the materials are ductile. That means you can give them any shapes. That they are ductile and metallic, and then they actually shining. Their surface are shiny, so that means luster, high electrical and thermal conductivity. For example, sodium and cohesive energy is 1.1 electron volt per atom. So that's all about our bond.